Welcome to What Resonates. This podcast is about tuning into energy, intuition, and what feels true for you. Each conversation invites you to notice what sparks curiosity and feels aligned, opening a wider field of possibility for yourself and for humanity. Keep tuning in and follow what resonates. Do you feel a call to open more fully to your inner guidance and live in alignment with your highest wisdom? I have a course and it's called Channel Your Divine Self. It's 6 weeks. We're meeting live starting January of 2026. And I'm leading the class along with the Emissaries of Light. And together, we're going to help you release doubt, anchor trust, and build a safe, sovereign connection with your divine self. Every session is recorded and you'll receive lifetime access so you can return to the teachings over and over. If you're ready to channel with clarity, visit mainstreamreiki.com and join us. One of my favorite people, Gayle Revels, joins me again here on the show. She is so generous in all she offers through our conversations, and she has another special offer for you. Stay tuned, listen to this conversation, and if it resonates, go further. Take advantage of Gayle's generous offer. Welcome to What Resonates. I'm Andrea Kennedy. Today we get to reconnect with Gayle Revels. Gayle is a psychopomp and energy healer specializing in helping people remove attached energy so that they can regain their sovereignty. She helps spirits who've been stuck here or perhaps been causing problems by resolving the bindings that keep them with us. Gayle's unique approach truly helps everyone involved. You may remember Gayle from our most popular episode called Spirit Attachments and Curses. That was when the show was actually called Beyond the Reiki Gateway. So you can look in the show notes and video description on YouTube, and we'll put links there so you can quickly find that episode and more. Welcome, Gayle. It is such a joy to have you back to the show. I just cannot wait to delve more into these kinds of topics. They're so popular with people, and the way you demystify it and you just bring it all into focus for us, I have found so helpful. And I know a lot of people have as well. So thanks for coming back.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. I really enjoy talking about these subjects always, but I really like talking about them with you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. In today's episode, I actually wanted to, talk to you about um, the everyday person. We are bumping into people all the time. We have our issues. Maybe they have their issues. And I'm wondering how common are beings or energy that isn't ours affecting us. How common is that? Does it only happen to certain people at certain times, or how widespread is this?
Huh. Honestly, after 10 or so years of playing with this, I think everybody has something going on with them, whether it's a being, human or not, or some type of curse or binding of some type. I think they're really, really, really common. And the question isn't whether or not you have one, because the answer is almost definitely yes for most people. It's whether or not it's bothering you. So I had a dentist once say, are your wisdom teeth bothering you? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, then they're not bothering me in terms of whether or not I should have them taken out. And I really think that's true. That's kind of been my approach to spirit work. Some things aren't necessarily active. So, say you have a past life or an ancestral curse that you're not allowed to do something. One example in my practice was someone who was opening an apothecary. That's not really common in the modern world. She didn't realize that was an ancestral thing in her family, and until she tried to do it, and it didn't go very well. And it was really random things that were going wrong. Like the building had a mechanical fire that got fixed. She's not assuming that's related to her business. And then later on, she got robbed. And then she's like, okay, well, that's random. And then the third thing comes up, and she's like, okay, three things. Like, that's not normal. And should we go and play with it and realize that her ancestral line wasn't allowed to have an apothecary? There was a past life or past generation curse that blocked her from doing that. That's not something that would have ever been active for her if she didn't choose to open an apothecary. So it's kind of one example of something that is probably there, that but it's not bothering her until she decided to do that. Some things drain our energy. That's probably the thing that having a spirit attachment is, and that's a problem. So that's maybe more immediate. But so basically, what I tell people is like, if your life is out of flow, you feel really tired, um, you feel really blocked, something you're working on never isn't working the way that you think it should, and you're doing all the normal 3D things, then it's good to go look for a spirit reason for that. And if you don't find one specific to that, you'll probably find ones for something else because we tend to, they're common. But I don't think we need to find everything that could possibly be in any of our ancestral lines or past lives. Again, if it's not bothering you, it's better just to go live your life.
Is is it kind of like you just have all this baggage, but there's only like one suitcase open, at a time, and you might have certain things in there, but if if you're not opening other suitcases for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. They can just sit over there in the corner, right? So I have a question though, because number one, you said the C word, curses. And I think that gets people's attention because that's a spooky word, curses. And I know we did talk about it on the previous show a lot. I mean, it's been years ago now, but it's hard to believe. But can you quickly explain what is a curse? Because it's actually pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, curses are very simple. I think in the modern world, people think of curses as being negative and on purpose, but a curse isn't necessarily. So a curse is just an energy structure. That energy structure is an intention. A curse is meant to do something. It has a target. Somebody or some group is meant to do whatever that intention is. And what makes it binding is power. So it has to have some type of power that keeps the intention going for that target, that group of people. So if you think of that structure, that tripod structure is just curse, intention, and power. That's neutral in terms of good or bad. In fact, I think, and most parents probably can see how this would work. You want something for your kids, or you're scared of something for your kids. Your kids are now the target. Whatever it is you wanted or wanted them not to do is your intention. Um, that's a parenting thing. Everybody wants things for their kids or wants them not to do something. What makes it binding is when you put power behind it. So to say it's something that you're terrified about. Um, and the common past life example would be people who are gifted. So if you say the time of the witch trials, being gifted was not safe. And so you might wish that your kids never show their gifts publicly, so that you would be protected. You have a lot of fear behind that. There's a lot of stuff going on that would cause you to have that fear. So if you just say you don't want your kids to share their gifts in public, you put a lot of power behind it. Maybe you asked your guides to help. You asked your ancestors to help. You asked the spirit of the land to help. You asked your religion to help. Well, now you're adding more and more power to that. And that made a lot of sense. That would have been very protective in the 1600s during the witch trials. But now we're many generations later, and you're like, I study all of these modalities, but I can't do them publicly. That would be kind of an example of a protective curse. You see them as
Mm.
guiding things too. Hey, we think that the best way to get ahead as a family is to work for the government or have a high powered profession. And so now you're like, I really want to do art. Everybody in my family is a lawyer. And you're like, and I can't seem to ever get any traction, but I'm really good. I get good reviews. And you're like, oh, there's an ancestral intention that you have to do something high powered career. So there's kind of ways that curses have unintentional harms. The other thing about a curse, which I find fascinating, is that most people don't put timing elements in the curse. So it didn't say, hey, don't show any gifts until you're old enough to have discernment. If we had that, it would have gone away, right?
But that's so higher level thinking because aren't a lot of these just done without even there's no conscious awareness. It's not like the parent says, I'm going to put a curse on my son today. And how will I best do that? It's just an unconscious or subconscious kind of thing fueled by that emotion, right?
Usually, yeah. And some of them are definitely on purpose, but it's not a common thing in the modern world. We don't think, hey, I'm going to set or remove curses. It's just not, I mean, it is for me, but it is not for most people. So a lot of, unless you're in one of the cursing traditions, Santeria, Voodoo, there's a few others that so, then yeah, you're thinking about curses in a really deliberate way. What's happening most of the time now, especially with parents and kids, we're not, not nobody, most people are not cursing their kids on purpose. That's unconscious. And yeah, then you're not putting all the pieces of it together. A lot of curses that I see in my practice are old, and they are from a time when we had a cursing culture. Um, and most of us have cursing cultures if you go back far enough. Um, the thing is that if they were on purpose in the past, they could have put in dates and things. And a lot of them probably did, but that's not what I see in my practice because they've already gone away. I only see the ones where they didn't.
Wow.
And then curses
So,
totally can be on purpose, meant to cause harm, and that's what people think of.
yes.
Um, but
Yes.
but they're bigger than that. I said binding. What makes a curse binding? And there's lots of things that bind energy or make them required. The curses is probably the most commonly known one, or spells. People talk about spells too. Curses and spells actually have that same structure: intention, target, power. The biggest difference between a spell and a curse is what is the power, but the structure is actually the same. Spells are usually more deliberate, and so they generally have more deliberate fuel. But there also are a lot of other things that are binding. Contracts are binding. So we've probably all done this too. A bargain with somebody. You're like, hey, if you can help me get this job, I promise to do X or Y. If you'll protect my family, I'll do Z. Sometimes it's just, burning off steam. We say things that we don't necessarily mean. But again, you go back far enough in time, or you're talking to people like me who have lots of relationships with spirit. If I ask Freya, for example, will you help me do this? I promise to do that. I've just made a contract with Freya, right? So, and
Mm.
now that is binding. There are repercussions if I don't do it. Freya will probably gently try and kind of push me or direct me towards the thing I promised, and then it gets more punitive over time. So contracts can be binding. And again, humans are famous for forgetting that we reincarnate, and also for making bargains with beings that live longer than we do. Um,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I made this bargain with Freya as an example. I've reincarnated. I am not consciously aware of my bargain with Freya in this lifetime. I probably don't remember it. She does, though.
So, I'm just, we've talked before. y- but I'm sitting here and I'm thinking every person must have, if you put it in writing about all the different influences, all the different energies are, that could be at play, could be influencing the person, it would take up a library for every person.
Which is
I
why I say
mean,
everybody has them. The question isn't, do you
yeah,
have them? I'm pretty sure that you do. It's, are they bothering you?
yes, yeah. And so I think you said if things aren't in the flow for the person, it would be a good time, to perhaps seek you out. You're an energetic specialist. So, what happens with people? Like they might feel off or something, and then, maybe they go to somebody who does Reiki or somebody who does some other kind of modality. And what happens there? If somebody just goes in for a Reiki treatment or something and they have a curse, what generally happens, do you think? Can that take care of it or in some cases or no?
It depends. So, and I think using Reiki is a great example because I'm also a Reiki master. So that's where I kind of started with my energy journey. Reiki is really good at helping fill in energy. So, say like I'm giving energy to all these other things and I'm depleted, and then because I'm depleted, all these other things are going wrong around me. Reiki kind of helps fill that in. And so all the other things go away because I'm no longer depleted. Say we picked up a spirit just because I live here at the beach. Sometimes people will be doing like services at the beach. If I am tired and I'm using that to unwind at the end of the day, I might not be boundaried appropriately to walk through a funeral service. So when that happens, I often come home with a spirit. And so Reiki might just be the energy boost that spirit needs to help continue on with their journey. They're not tied to me specifically. They don't know me. I was just a safe place for them to kind of move to as they're moving. So Reiki's great at helping stuff like that. But when the curse is like, hey, you must, never show gifts in public, Reiki doesn't fix that. That's like tied to me as a soul. Um, but if things aren't necessarily tied, Reiki's really good at helping break them up, fill them in, help them dissolve. But when things are really specific, tied to me as a soul or tied to my ancestral line, they need more than just Reiki, which is just kind of an energy boost, to
Right.
make it simplified.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One other question I had was, when you were on the show last time, more recently, I think it was last year, right around this time, um, we talked a lot about sovereignty. And so, can you explain if we are under the influence of curses and things like that, how, where's our sovereignty in that?
Mhm. Yeah, I think sovereignty is a divine right. We all have the right to kind of make our own decisions. And it's not absolute. So I think a lot of us want it to be absolute. I want it to be absolute as a practitioner and also as a human. But there are things that we maybe agreed to do, and we made that choice in our sovereignty. And so our honor, our ethics require us to honor what we agreed to. Um, which is why when people come to me with contracts, for example, I don't just say, hey, yeah, let's just pull that out or dissolve that. Contracts have to be renegotiated, just like they would be in the human realm. If I have a contract with a video editor, for example, I just had one of those personally, then I agreed to pay her. If I don't pay her, I'm in default. So I can't just go, yeah, I changed my mind. I'm not going to pay you. And same thing goes with the spirit realm. You can't go, oh, I changed my mind. I'm no longer going to do the thing I promised to do. I would be in default. So even if it was, several lifetimes ago and I don't remember it, and my sovereignty says, yeah, I should be able to make a new choice. I agreed to do that. So,
Right.
so when contracts come up, it's like, hey, I'm working with my guides going, hey, let's go back to the moment that agreement, that contract was made. And can I talk to the people who made that agreement in their compassionate aspect, not the fear aspect, the anger aspect, their compassionate aspect, and say, hey, I'm working with you in the future, say 5 lifetimes later. Did you intend for this to last that long? Most of the time, they're like, no, of course I didn't intend that. So it's like, well, what did you intend? They're like, well, for this incarnation. It's like, great. Can we say that? Can the contract say, in this incarnation, I'm going to do what they originally agreed to? Both guys sides go, yeah, that's what I meant. Well, now it's no longer applicable now. That's, been resolved by changing the original agreement. And a lot of times I think contracts and agreements are just going back and building in the end. Um, it's like, no, I did mean that to last for 15 lifetimes. And it's like, oh, well, can you decide it no longer works? How do you decide it no longer works? Are both parties bound for 15 lifetimes, or can either one of them say no? Like we're like just kind of making people think it through a little bit, adding in the end.
It's like you're an attorney for the spirit world.
Yeah, I have a couple of practitioner friends that we joke about this. My background is contracts. I used to work for the government as a finance manager. So the guys are like, yeah, this is a contract. And I was like, oh, okay, it's a contract. I know what that means. Like logically, I know what that means. And I think that's true in all energy work. Our life experiences give us a perception or a lens to see the work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But what about curses? Because that's not an agreement that we
Yeah.
made as a sovereign being.
So curses are given to us by someone else. You can self curse. That is definitely a thing. But self curses are usually not as strong as those given to us by others. So those just get unraveled. So like same thing, I would start with a team of guides and say, hey, let's go back to where this begins. And from there, I start collecting some information. Some of it, we as humans need for our brains to process what was happening. Some of it, I need to undo the curse. So I'm asking my guides, hey, show me at the point where someone decided to do it, they put kind of the fuel of it together and they've created this nice little curse ball, but they haven't actually given it to anyone yet. And from this place, I'm like, okay, where am I in relation to the client? Past life, ancestral line, which line, this lifetime, how many years? What's going on around me at that moment in time that gives it context? Like, why? Why did they make that intention? I don't usually need that to undo it. I need to know the timing, but not the why. The why is a human thing. But then I need to know those three elements of a curse. What did they actually do and who did they do it to? Who they did it to is actually really important in curse unraveling. We want to make sure it's undone for the entire group that it was made for. So I find that if we don't do the entire group, that group is bound together by that curse. We end up reincarnating with each other. Um, and we don't necessarily know that we're bound together by that curse. It's just somebody that you meet, you're like, I feel like I've known you forever. You probably do. So sometimes that's soul family, and we're choosing to incarnate together. Sometimes we're bound together by something outside of ourselves. And so we keep seeing each other. So I found this when I started, playing with curses. This wasn't part of my initial teaching, but I was like, someone would undo it for me and I'd feel good for a couple of weeks. And then it felt like it came back. I was like, why do curses keep coming back? They shouldn't. And what I found, what the guides were showing me was like, oh, say you and I are in a past life curse together, as an example. We're not, I don't think. The I just undo it for me, or it gets undone for me, and then I end up chatting with you, just not realizing that we were in that original curse. Well, the curse is on the group. I talk to you, I'm back in the group. Suddenly it's back on me because the curse was on the group, it wasn't on me. So and my friends are still cursed. So like for me, I was like, hey, if we go do it for the entire group, one, it helps the people that were in that group, which we may or may not know in this lifetime, but also it makes it not come back. I don't reconnect to the group, reconnect to the curse. So, and then the last thing I need to know is how they put it together? What gives it power? That's always about the person who set it up. Person living with it, the intention rules. Like that's the thing that keeps causing problems. The power is, what did the person who set the curse, what did they have access to? Is it my emotion, my personal power, my guides? I think in the past, when this was more of a professional thing, you would pay someone to set curses, would be more common. So you would come to me, the mythical you, not you personally, and say, hey, I think I have a curse. Can you undo it? And I go, yeah, no problem. I'd remove the things that give your curse power. If it's just energy, we would just transmute that back to pure energy and let it go. If it's a being in this lifetime, I stop and I help that being. Is it tied to anything else? Where does it belong? We tend to that being, we open doors, we send it all the way back where it belongs. That's really my job in this lifetime. So then if in the past, what I would have done though, is I would have kept that being. I would have removed it from you and stick it in a jar in my office. The next person would come in and say, hey, can you set this curse? It's like, oh yeah, I got the perfect being for that sitting over here in this jar in my office. So to remove it from one, set it in the other. So in this lifetime, I think that's horribly unfair, cruel, like should never do that. In the past, that would have been really good energy management. So, so like my promise in this lifetime is I promise never to force anyone to do anything. Kind of eliminates that. I'm not going to do that. So, but if in this our example here, so it goes to show how like the fuel really isn't personal. Like the being I removed from one person and sent to the other has nothing to do with this other person. It's like, what do I have access to? So does that kind of make sense?
It does. And I always am surprised by the things that you say, because taking a being like that and like putting it in the jar and waiting for and how we, humanity, used to be, and in doing these things, that it's just terrible, isn't it? Oh my goodness. I mean, you always say things that I never thought of before. And that's one reason I just so appreciate talking to you, because it opens up my awareness to these other things. So, okay, where we started was everybody could use a clearing, right? And I totally agree, especially after listening to what you've said so far. And um, it and then the other thing that really got my attention is you said if we have business with other people in the group, we'll keep coming back. And I never really thought about that's a reason that we would come back with the same people or same souls. So there's another layer. This is so intricate, isn't it?
It's really, and the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Like
Right.
I feel like the perpetual beginner. It's like, am I a beginner in this work? No, I've been doing this professionally over 10 years. But I feel like you keep learning, and and for me, that's what keeps it fun. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and the so for curses, what we're doing as the team of guides is removing all the fuel, and we're clearing it.
Yeah.
If it's just energy, it just goes back for use in something else. If it's a being, we make sure they go all the way home. And then once all
Oh.
of the energy is removed, then the guides take that intention, and let's say it's their intention sitting on this group or this individual. And to me, it looks like she's unbraiding somebody's hair. And what
Oh.
Freya has described it to me is basically unraveling it from the fabric of time, from the moment it was created to today. And in ancestral curses, that means it comes off everybody born from when it was set to today. Um, in past life things or on groups, it comes off everybody in the group across every single lifetime, because the curse probably attracted other energies that are maybe not helpful. So by unraveling this, it's like disconnecting it from that other energy as well. I don't want to leave a hole. I think that's how we pick up other things, is we just have holes in our own energy body. Um, we can fill them in with other things, exercise, Reiki, any other type of energy modality. But when I'm actually working with people, I'm asking the guides to fill in behind us. So as they start to create the hole by unraveling, can they fill in behind it from the blessing field, so that people come out of a session with me balanced? The problem has been removed and the energy has been refilled or filled back in.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, so let's say people are listening and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to address this." Um, what does that look like? Because they can come to you and have a clearing and probably learn something about themselves they had no idea, right? And then what happens? Because as I said a moment ago, probably all of this stuff could fill a library that could be potentially, at play or influencing them. So they come for a clearing, and then what? They go on with life, and then are they back in a week saying, "Okay, let's do the next thing and the next, and what's the next thing?" And how does that progress?
Yeah. I don't actually like to see people every week, which you probably know about me, but just for the record, I don't like to see people every week. I think that the work needs to integrate, and I think that's the step that a lot of people really try and skip. So after a session with me, the work is done in the session or within that same like day if they do it through an email appointment. Um, and then the work kind of lands in the energy body. Our energy body has a lot of shifts, those holes fill in and change. And that really happens over the first couple of days. But then it continues to settle out through the whole energy body, through like the whole system. This impacts that. Um, and for probably a week or two. So the whole thing kind of settles And I'm trying not to leave any holes, deliberately trying not to leave any holes. But our whole energy system has to come back up and kind of naturally fill in where the blessing field was. And that takes time. I also find that the problems that people are coming to me for are often really long standing. So it's like if you've been dealing with this your whole life, 1 2 hour session is not going to change all of your coping mechanisms. It is not going to change your mindset. It's not going to change the way you see the world. Is it going to change the energy that pushed you to build those things? Yes, absolutely. That's going to change in one session. But then we have to change those things. There's nothing pushing us anymore, but it's our habit. It's the way we see the world, and that takes time. So depending on how much we've kind of compensated for the problem, can take more or less time. So generally, I tell people that when they work with me, they need at least a week, probably two, for kind of everything to truly settle and move out through our whole energy systems. After that, if you're like, hey, these things feel better and this one thing still feels bad, that's follow up for the same kind of type of work. And then come back. I'm happy to see you in a week at the very fastest. 2 weeks or more is more likely. And yeah, that's kind of working on the same kind of energy packet. But then I really recommend people go live their lives and see where things are flowing better, where things are still stuck, and then come back longer term after that. Unless you show up and I'm like, this is going to take more than one session, which is pretty rare for me. I almost never tell people that. I want people to kind of sit in their intuition, see how they feel. Um, but then, I don't really see people, the people I see once a month or more, they're either really deeply, heavily into it, into the work. And generally, when people want to see me that much, I'm asking questions like, where are you getting supported outside of me? Are you seeing a therapist? Are you under medical care? Are you talking to friends? Like they're doing major life upheaval if they're seeing me that much. Otherwise, I just want to see people quarterly, monthly, because they're having something they're working on. The people I'm seeing monthly, they're like launching a new podcast, they're writing a book, they've got some type of like big show or launching a course. And so they're like, we're fine tuning and playing with the energy as they kind of build or launch this new thing. But, or they're other practitioners. I find other practitioners, some of us are not very good at our energy management. Um, and sometimes that's not even our fault. Say in a past life, we had a modality where we cleared energy through our physical body. So there's a part of us that says, anytime I meet a client, I take their problem and I put it in my body and then I clear it from mine. And that lifetime, they were trained to do that. They probably did it pretty quickly and efficiently. They didn't carry things unknowingly for long periods of time. But then we're reincarnated. We don't know how to do that. We don't even realize we are doing that. And that's when you're like looking for those. Like you're like, whenever I work with clients, I'm really drained. And I was like, Reiki shouldn't drain you. Like Reiki is, we're the hollow bone, right? So in fact, I usually feel better after giving Reiki. So if you're feeling drained, we're like, where's the problem in that? And sometimes it's, we want it so bad. We're sending our life force energy. We're drained, right? That's a common Reiki problem. Other times, though, it's like I put my hands on this person and I took on all of their beings. And so you're like, so people like they come back and they're like, I still feel like I picked up 20 new beings. And I was like, let's look at why you're doing that.
This is a great thing to mention, Gail, because I'm still teaching Reiki classes all the time, and on my other YouTube channel and all of this, it's Reiki questions and things. So this is great because a lot of people ask a couple things about this, and so you've touched on this. So let's delve in a little bit more to this because I think it can really help people. So number one, people will say they'll offer Reiki to somebody and they feel their pain in their body. Is that just being an empath and finding out more information about their client so they can help them? Or is it that they are taking it on, or could it be both?
It could be either one. And the fastest way to know the difference is when you stop, do you still feel bad?
Ah,
So if you still feel bad after the Reiki session, say, tomorrow morning you wake up and you're like, I feel all the symptoms that client had when they gave me their intake. You took it on as your own. If you're like, I felt this way and it helped me flow Reiki to their shoulder blades because mine suddenly hurt. That's just information. And
right,
that's, one of the clairs is clairsentience. Empathy definitely falls into that, but clairsentience is a body knowing. So,
right.
so sometimes we're
Hmm.
just getting information that way. Um, for me, I like to set boundaries around that. Boundaries is something that I think a lot of people need to learn how to do, honestly. So with boundaries, I might say, hey, any information I have through my clairsentience, which is honestly a strong skill for me, I want it as knowing. So it's like, I
Hmm.
want to know your shoulders hurt. I don't want my shoulders to hurt.
And let me ask you this too, because if they do, like, let's say they feel it in the shoulder and it is for the client, can they in that moment say, is this mine? Is this theirs? Determine that, and then say, I release this, and it should leave them, or how does that
Mm.
work?
Now we're getting into some of the intricacies of your novel, of different things that it could be. But sometimes, like one of my first teachers basically says, acknowledged. Like, thank you for the information. I no longer need to have that information in my body. And it leaves. And that's, again, a great sign that you're just talking about clairsentience. It's just information, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
thank you for the information. I no longer need it. Message received. But if it doesn't stop, then it's like, oh, what agreements do I have to take on energy? And sometimes those are learned from teachers. Sometimes that's just the way my body does it. And until you change your mind, it's going to continue being the way that it was. Um, Intention is really powerful and pretty much all energy work. So basically, just setting the intention that I'm not clear through my physical body um, changed lots of things for me personally. And I see that with clients a lot. So like for me, it's like I work with a lot of clients. I have a full-time practice. It's fabulous. But I was like, I only want information as knowing. I want all work to be in the etheric. I don't allow any work to happen through my physical or energy body. If it has to happen that way, it needs to be with my conscious consent, and you have to talk to me about it first. It's my request or requirement, really, with my guide team. Sometimes they'll be like, I'm so sorry, but this really has to move this way. And it's pretty rare, but when that does happen, it's like, okay, what does that mean? What are the parameters? How fast is it going to be? Nothing stays with me, right? You know, you want to know. Um, the first time it happened for me, I didn't ask all those questions. You don't know to ask those questions until it happens to you. And I heard my guide say sorry, and then a spirit blasted straight through me. And the sorry told me that it was deliberate.
Oh
Um,
my
but also
goodness.
I was just like, wait a minute, like that's not okay with me. So yeah, so I'm like, I've always been kind of curious, but you learn what questions to ask by what doesn't go the way you thought it was going to.
So my next question about this is, you mentioned they do Reiki on somebody and they get the beings from that person. So that's a pretty common fear out there when it comes to Reiki, and people that aren't on board with Reiki or think Reiki is bad or whatever. Well, that's one of the things that they'll say. But it's not about Reiki,
It's
it's about
touch,
something else that's happening,
touch.
right?
I touched you. Touch allows things to move from one person to another. It's more
Oh.
about touch.
Okay, so what if you don't physically touch them, but you're off their body? It's the same thing though, right?
I find it happens less if you're off the body versus touch. I think touch is an immediate like conduit. But being off the body, that intention, again, back to intention is everything. If the intention is Reiki's flowing from me to them, it's not a bio. It's like you're not accepting energy coming off of them. But again, that's your intention. Did you notice that? Maybe not. Are you
Yes.
going to think about
The
it now? Probably.
Yes, I'm so relieved right now, Gail, because that's what I tell my students. You have the intention. And I even tell them anytime they're going to receive a session to set an intention about what they are opening to receive.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
think that people don't say that about it. And I mean, I had a client once years ago, and she came in, she got on the Reiki table, and it was like she opened up like I couldn't believe it. And, her life mirrored that. She had such chaos and unrest in her life. And so I worked with her over time, and, we got her, a little bit more um, awareness about her intention and what she's opening to. And it's so important.
So
So,
important.
as a practitioner, I think we think about that a lot. But anybody out there who is having a session, set an intention about what you're opening to receive.
And really
It's
think
so
about it,
easy.
because a lot of people, they might set the intention that I'm not accepting anything that is meant to cause harm. Yes, please definitely do that. That's like the baseline. But for me, like the intention has become, I'm not accepting anything that will have a negative impact, because they might
Mm,
mean the absolute best. It's just not good for me personally.
mhm.
So the
Yes.
intention is like, I don't want to receive anything that will have a negative impact.
Yes.
I also set
I like
intentions
that.
with Reiki and acupuncture and massage. All three of them kind of go together for me. That whenever I'm receiving energy, because energy's flowing. If something's coming in, something's going out. Like just the way that energy works, right? So I might set the intention that I'm not accepting anything that's negative impacting, and I'm releasing anything that is negatively impacting. So if I've already got
Mm,
it, like letting it go. So my intention is always to release anything that isn't mine or that is negatively impacting. So I think it's important to kind of set both. What are you open to receiving, and what are you hoping to let go?
even better. Thank you so much for that. Ah, now I want to stay on energy hygiene, but I don't want us to forget because I want to also explore a little bit more about some of these energetic influences. So I don't know, where do you want to go first? Because I want to know more about vows
Yeah, let's talk about
because
bindings. That's what I was going to say. It's like, let's talk about
oh,
bindings.
awesome, because I bet healers like Reiki practitioners and things like that, I bet they might have vows too, right?
They often have vows, yes. Um, so a vow is just something that we promised to do to an outside force with consequences. So vows are usually more intentional than just like, I'm a Reiki healer. I want to do the best I can, provide the best healing possible. That's not really a vow. But a vow might be, I'm going to use Freya again as an example. She says I can. So I'm going to work with Freya to help all of these beings that are stuck different places. I have a vow with Freya to do this together. Um, but you also see vows of, you see it sometimes. This is where you start talking about the difference between agreements and vows. So as an agreement is you and I agree to do this together. But we're both teachers. So as a teacher, you might say, hey, as a condition of learning from me, you need to agree to, is that an agreement between you and me, or is that now a vow? And I know you and I don't teach this way, so don't want to make it, personal. But say in a past life, because they used to be really common, it used to be in shamanic, or a lot of healers actually, is we didn't receive payment for service. The community took care of the healer took care of the community. We didn't charge for each individual thing we did. So as I say, a condition of learning to become a healer, we might have vowed not to ever charge per service. So now you're like, I can't charge. Is that a curse? Is that an agreement? Or is that a vow? I might have vowed to never charge per service. Um, So you might have vows
Oh,
to, I will always take care of my younger siblings. That might have been a vow that was made maybe during a term of conflict. Maybe it's a famine or a plague or a war. I vow to take care of my younger siblings. Um,
is is that how we create a vow? As we just say, "I vow to"? I mean, how do we do that?
the vow could be I vow to, but it could also be, God can you please help me? I promise to take care of my siblings if you promise to help us. A vow is usually with a specific deity. Um, so, like,
Oh,
who are we vowing to, right? So, did
right.
I vow to my sibling that I would take care of her? If she didn't agree to do the same for me, then maybe that's a vow. If I say, hey, I vow to take care of you, and she vows to take care of me, that's probably an agreement, unless we used the word vow. Most people don't think to do that. So again, it's not in the modern world. So maybe in the past it would have been more common, but vows are usually a promise we've made with a deity to do something specific.
Okay, I have two questions. The first question is, we get married and we vow, we do our
Solemn
vows.
vow.
Okay? So that's a vow, right? Those are true vows. And then the people get divorced. Is the vow undone energetically with that, or is there still a vow there sometimes that has to be undone?
Yeah, I'm asking my guides. That's not a question I know off the top of my head. They say that the intention behind the divorce generally undoes the vow because the vow is between two people and God. So, in two people, usually, not always in churches, but they're saying generally the agreement between the two is broken by mutual consent as long as the divorce is mutual. There are some
Mhm.
vows made in weddings that carry forward, depending on the exact wording of the vow. Um, so, like I've heard or seen some wedding vows that are, till death do us part. That's this incarnation, right?
Right.
So if you've written your own vows, for all time, for every incarnation in this lifetime or the next, and those are making agreements that are going to carry past this lifetime. So wording is important, but also those vows are usually made to each other. They're not necessarily made to God. So again, like your vows in your wedding is like, are they between you and your partner? Or are they between you, your partner, and God? Which God, like which denomination, the complexities they can get really big. But they're saying in general, because the agreement is between the two of you, witnessed by God in most weddings, then the agreement between the two of you changes with your divorce.
Mm. Okay, my second question is, what if we think we have made a vow? And we'll just keep on the same track. So your example was someone is offering healing sessions to others and they don't want to charge them. So, what if they're listening now and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I might have a vow? What can they do? Can they break it on their own?
Again, breaking is kind of like with contracts. You don't really want to break it because then you're in violation of what you promised. So,
Okay,
using my example, because I think this is a fun kind of side point related to that. When we're vowing not to charge for our service, the understanding is the community is going to take care of us. So some
right.
people who vow not to charge for their services, they're like, my husband has this amazing ability to suddenly receive $300 in the mail that was a rebate to something they forgot about. Or my husband got a raise when I did all of this energy work around receiving more money. And that's like a really creative workaround the vow because you receive more money, but you're not charging for service. So sometimes when you're like, I wonder if I have this, like if you're like, my partner is amazing at getting money and I really suck at it, you're like, I'm like, ding, 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 ding. You want to look for that. Is there something in you that makes it so that you can't receive money, but the guides are helping you get it in another way? But in terms of how we undo them, kind of like an agreement, like we talked about before, it's like going back to when it was made and just clarifying what was meant when we made it. Did we mean for it to cross lifetimes? Did we mean it to last longer than we're consciously aware of it? So, a lot of times the answer to that is
Mm,
actually so.
right.
So
Yes.
it's like going back to when it was originally made, and again clarifying the end, just like I would with an agreement. It's the same process. And a lot of times it's like, hey, I want to honor my agreement. So when I'm, just clarifying exactly what we agreed to. A lot of times, it's easy to shift those to only apply to the lifetime reincarnation they were made. Or I find vows are probably the most common times that we have vows is either when we are serving the community or we're in some type of religious order. That's another one that maybe isn't really common, but say we were in a religious order and we have vows to that order and that God. Some of those are transmuting into other lifetimes because we weren't specific enough to say, while I'm in this order or in this incarnation. And again, some probably were, but those aren't the ones I see in my practice because the ones that were don't aren't still active. So people are like, I feel totally like pulled to the Catholic Church and repelled at the same time. I don't understand the dichotomy. And I was like, let's look. Do you have vows to the Catholic Church in a past life? Um,
Ah, yeah, that's a neat example.
or do
Yeah.
you have vows to maybe one of the pagan religions that really hated Catholicism because they were killing your way of life in that lifetime? And so now you're like, I'm born Catholic. I like the Catholic concepts. I'm in the community, like socially, but I have this major like hate of it that doesn't make sense. And you're like, oh, that hate. So it's like the inverse of it. The hate of it is from the past life.
Just incredible. Incredible. Are there any other kinds of energetic influences or bindings that come to mind before we move into some energy hygiene before we have to
Before we run
go?
out of time. Yeah, so the most common ones are curses and contracts.
Okay.
Agreements are similar to a contract. In fact, people often use those words interchangeably. I find agreements are things that maybe our family made. You see those commonly, let's say, old farming families where the family has an agreement with the land spirits to tend the land, and then the land spirits help the farmer be successful, but then pass down ancestrally. So the family has an agreement to tend the land. And then, over 500 years, our families move off of the land that we had those agreements with, but we still have the agreement to tend the land. So agreements are another binding thing. The last one that is really not all that common would be a gesh. So a gesh is a requirement from the gods. So you see them in some of the old fairy tale stories, like with Samson. You have all this incredible strength as long as you never cut your hair. Never cutting your hair would be the gesh. You see it in like the King Arthur stories, where the knights, have great success as long as they never offend the host. You see them layered in a lot of the King Arthur type stories, where they might have say two or three gesh. You're never allowed to refuse food offered by the host, and you're never allowed to eat fish, say. So then the host offers you fish, and you have to decide which guest you're going to break. So it becomes like a moral story, and then the punishment for breaking the gesh is the story. Um, so you'll see sometimes gesh like that, where we have a requirement from the gods to do or not do something. Those are usually tied to us as a soul, and we reincarnate with those. And we obviously don't know about them in this new lifetime, and then we break them. So then people are like, why do I have all this eternal suffering? You'll go to someone who's like, no, you don't have a curse. And so it's like just like digging, like where's the suffering come from? So Gesh are really not that common, but you see them in a lot of the Northern European, Nordic traditions.
Oh.
And to do a gesh is the most complex in terms of removing them, which again is an interesting point. So the gesh is placed by the gods. So to remove it, you have to get the permission of the god that said it.
Oh. And you do all of this because you have the ability to talk to your guides and uh, have built relationships with them, and you teach people, isn't that right? How to work with their guides and energy hygiene and all of that. So, um, I would love to touch on energy hygiene for people, something that they can take away from this episode that they can perhaps start doing for themselves. to get going. Can you offer some suggestions?
Yeah, so energy hygiene is both not keeping energy we've picked up from other people, but it's also filling ourselves back in. Um, Life happens, we get tired. And that's if we're not dealing with anything big. You've had a big day and we're tired. So regular energy hygiene can be as simple as every time you wash your hands, intending that you remove anything that isn't yours. Every time you take a shower, washing off anything that isn't yours. If you are Reiki trained, Reiki 2, using the symbols on your shower head will also help you fill in as you release. So releasing anything and filling back in with Reiki and the symbols. I love using Reiki symbols in my bath, taking a salt bath at the end of the day. That's energy hygiene, right? So, so those are kind of ways of just simple everyday. Or anytime you exercise, it could be as much as walking across the parking lot from your car to the store, intending that the movement of your body release anything that's kind of stuck or needs movement. Energy hygiene can be more deliberate. I'm going to give myself a Reiki treatment at the end of the day. That's beautiful hygiene. You can do it through, say, visualizations. I love to visualize, say, the Reiki field or the universal energy flowing from above me through my energy body, through the chakra system, out my feet, back down to the earth, taking with it anything that isn't mine, and then stopping at my feet and filling my energy body back in. It's one way of kind of bringing your energy back up, but also releasing anything that isn't yours. When I learned this as a student, we used to joke that it was the human oil change. But
Ah,
it's really my favorite. It's like, hey, just, kind of run through anything that isn't mine, fill myself back up. For anyone who works with the public or is in a busy place, doing that as the transition between your workday and your private life will help you not bring your workday into your life, into your home. Um, People like me who work from home, doing that as the transition between my work day and my life. If, say, I'm going to go out to dinner with a friend, I'm less likely to pick up some random thing at the restaurant if I have done that between one and the other. Because again, I don't have any holes in my field. Um, I have lots of rules about things that want to interact with me in restaurants, and that's a boundary thing that if that happens to you, you want to be not just doing hygiene. For me, hygiene and boundaries really go hand in hand. Our boundaries stop us from picking up all of these extra random things. And then our hygiene is, what do we do after we've picked it up anyway? And no matter how good your boundaries are, you're going to pick up some stuff. It's inevitable. And if you find that it happens consistently in patterns, then yeah, you want to adjust your boundaries. If it's every now and then, it's just, how do I increase my hygiene?
wonderful ideas, Gail. And I just want to underscore what you said at the very beginning. This kind of thing affects and applies to everyone. So it doesn't matter if you think your vibration is like so high and wonderful. We all have it. It's just a fact of life, of being here on the planet. And yeah, it's very, very common.
For me, it's kind of like, I brushed my teeth once isn't good enough. You kind of have to brush your teeth every day.
Yeah.
Energy hygiene is the same thing. It's like, when I'm like, I am so tired, my guides are kind of snarky. I'll inevitably have someone in the back of my head say, so. I was like, yes, I need to get up and do hygiene,
Yes.
you know? So it's just a part of life. And with our boundaries, most of us have learned that we need to do some type of boundary. A lot of us get told, hey, do an egg or do a circle. And we're like, it doesn't work. It doesn't stay. I have to keep putting it up every day, all the time. I have to think about it. It doesn't work. Why bother? It's like the most common thing I hear about boundaries. And I must admit, I've had the same thought process go for myself. One day I was really irritated. I was talking to Dragon, who's one of my personal guardians and gatekeepers. And he looks at me and he tilts his head, which is, usually a sign that I'm about to get some hard truth. And he's like, why do you have to do it yourself? And I was like, what do you mean? Of course I have to do it myself. And he's like, well, you have to define what you want. That's like the foundation of boundary work. But in terms of keeping it up, You don't have to do that yourself. Ask your guides to help you do that. Define what is and isn't okay. What I tell people is, pick your 80% level. Most of the time, this is what I need. There'll be exceptions. You probably need different boundaries if you go to events with lots of people, or you step into a big fight. You may need to shift your boundaries, or you're having a more intimate moment with a partner. You might want less boundaries. But most of your life, you want them to be, in this range. Ask your guides to hold them. Then you don't have to think about it again until you decide to change them. So for me as a teacher, I was like, hey, decide what you want and ask your guides to hold them until you decide otherwise. That phrase is really important. Otherwise, you reincarnate with those boundaries and they may or may not work for you in your next lifetime. And you don't want to have to find someone like me to change them. If you say, hey, I want to do this until I decide otherwise, in your next lifetime when you're just like, why can't I do this? You decided otherwise. So until you decide otherwise.
And thank you so much. And you said, again, a few times in there, talk to your guides, tell them this. And I think, though, a lot of people, that's where they get stuck because they might not have trust or faith that the guides are hearing them or they're hearing the guides right. And what if they're talking to spirit attachments? I mean, there's a lot of questions here. And so I mentioned you teach, and this is one of your, I would say, first classes, right?
Talking to your guides is the most important foundational skill for me. And it's really fast. You can learn how to talk to your guides in less than 2 hours with some practice. There's lots and lots of ways to talk to your guides. If you are working within the shamanic community, you probably have heard about journeying. Journeying to your guides is when you're using a drum or some type of monotonous beat to send your brain waves down into a theta state and out to see your guides. You can journey with plant medicine, you can journey through ecstatic dance or fatigue, but the fastest way to do it is through some type of monotonous beat, some type of percussion. And that's the way you would learn how to talk to your guides from a shamanic standpoint. But you can also channel. So channeling is where your guides come to you. So sitting here in your room, your office, you might say, hey, I want to talk to Freya. I'm inviting Freya to come talk to me. You still want to do things like set sacred space, do some energy hygiene so you're clean and you've set a container. But then Freya's talking to you here. Channeling can be out loud, it can be in writing, it can be in your head. But the main difference is journeying is we're going to them, channeling, they're coming to us. People often talk about mediumship and channeling interchangeably. Mediumship to me is a little bit more formal. It's where we're really setting a container. We're asking a guide to be a gatekeeper. So that gatekeeper would be the one that's inviting spirits in to talk to us and then inviting them to leave. But you're also inviting someone specific. So say with channeling, I'm like, hey, I want to ask about, I don't know, is there a spirit in my house? So anybody in my team can answer that. And I want that answer to be live here in real time. If mediumship, we'd have to be a lot more specific. Hey, I want to talk to Anubis about whether or not there's a spirit in my house. So the intention is really set, defined. The person's really defined. Isis might work as my gatekeeper, where she would invite in Anubis. I'd ask my question. She'd invite Anubis to leave. And it has to be out loud. So mediumship is giving voice to a spirit out loud. The moment that you start doing it in your head or in writing, you're channeling.
Oh.
It might be, hey, I want to talk to Anubis, but you're kind of moved outside of that mediumship parameter. So the moment you're giving voice out loud, but you didn't invite a specific spirit, you're channeling. The moment you start doing it not out loud, you're channeling. Most people are usually channeling. But mediumship is a really specific thing. Mediumship also does not have to be with the human dead. You can talk to any spirit in a mediumistic capacity, which I think is kind of fun. Talking to mountains and gods is fun and interesting. The other thing about mediumship that's really important is you don't have to let them embody your body. They don't have to take over to do mediumship. You just have to give voice out loud. It's up to you how close or far away they are from you. There are types of mediumship that are fully embodied, but I don't teach that. Probably because I do so much deep possession work. I'm like not. I don't recommend inviting a spirit to take over your body. So yeah, for me, it's conscious mediumship. So my talking to the guides workshop, we'll walk through journeying and channeling, and we'll practice both. And I think everybody can talk to their guides. And anybody who at the end is like, I still can't talk to my guides, then we're looking for a binding. I might be like, hey, come talk to me about why you can't talk to your guides. Let's go find that contract agreement, curse, vow. But minus that, I think everyone can talk to their guides. And the point is to start teaching you how to set a container, to make sure that you're talking to who you intended to and not your attachments or the random thing hanging out in your living room. It also, we want you to meet a guide in a real safe container, something that I'm holding, so that when you are talking to them, you get to know them. You want to make friends with your guides. Just like in real life, you would recognize your friend from a football field away based on their body language, the way they move, their hair color. Can you see with your eyes and know for sure it's them? Probably not from that distance, but you know it's them. I want you to have that same familiarity with your guides so that if someone pops up and goes, I'm Freya, and you're like, you don't look or feel or sound like her, you know it's not her. Like, how do you know it's not her? And you know by knowing her. And so, and once you know one guide, that really is your entryway into a whole new world. That person or that spirit animal that you met in that one journey may or may not be able to do everything for you. Probably can't do everything for you, but it's like getting a referral from a friend. If you ask your best friend for advice, you're going to trust it way more than asking the stranger at the bus stop that same question. So I want you to make a friend, have them get to know you, you get to know them. But then, my friend may not be the best person to give me legal advice, but she might go, oh, I know this lawyer that from my church or from my community, and they're a great person. So my friend introduced me to this other person, and I have a built-in trust. It's the same thing with the spirit realm. Hey, I think I have to change this vow. Are you the best person for that? They might say no, but this person is. Let me take you over here and introduce you to this person. So you want that entry point into the spirit realm. And then everything else I teach, whether that's boundaries or hygiene or energy fields or body mapping, we just set up classes to talk about timelines and incarnation plans for next year, which should be really fun. The foundation of that is being able to talk to your guides. We're going to stop and go talk to our guides and make it personal. My workshops are always interactive. So to do anything else that I teach, you have to be able to talk to your guides. So start there and then go play, and make friends. I'm never alone, but I always have a lot of guides hanging out with me. I'm really auditory. I love having the commentary. It makes me laugh. And it gets my attention. I always have a group.
I always love talking to you, Gayle. So remind us, what is your website? How can we connect with you?
Yeah. So my website is energyhealingwithspirits.com. And if you have never worked with me before, you want to start with either a consultation or a 2-hour Zoom appointment. I like to see everybody live the first time. It's amazing what you can see in people's expression and body language in terms of spirit attachments. I always like to start there. Gives me a lot of good information. Um, you don't have to start with a 2-hour appointment. You can just start with a 30-minute consultation. I won't do any work in that appointment, but we'll just get to know each other. But if you're like, after listening to this, I definitely have a curse, you can just make the 2-hour appointment. A consultation with me is not required. It's only if you have questions or you're not sure where to go. After you've worked with me once, you can always come back and do Zoom. I love talking to people, but we may not necessarily need that visual confirmation anymore. So follow-up appointments, or after you've seen me once, you can do what I call an email appointment. And that appointment, you kind of tell me where things are with you in writing and what you want me to look at. I would do the work without necessarily talking to you on Zoom. Um, all of my classes and workshops are there as well. So if you're like looking at the pull down or the tabs across the top, there's new clients, returning clients, and classes. My classes are a mix of live classes, which are always fun for me. They're usually 15-ish or so people. The Talking to Your Guides one can be a little bigger because it's the foundation class, but usually they're 10 to 15 people. And there's a new topic pretty much every month, except for November, which is my birthday. I always take it off, and usually don't try and do it in December. Too many people can't come. But the rest of the year, they're once a month. They're the second Saturday of the month, and they're usually 2-ish hours. I'm famous for going a little late, so don't book something right after you book a class with me. Um, I will stay and answer questions as long as people want to. So, and then I've recorded a lot of the foundational classes. So if the live Talking to Your Guides class isn't until February, the next one. But if you're like, wait, I want to take your class on Talking with the Spirit of the New Year, you could, there's a recording. So you could purchase a self-study version of that class and then hop into any class that you want.
I'm sure people appreciate the different options there, Gayle. And we have a special offer for them, right? So let's tell them about that.
Perfect. So I love meeting people that come off of the podcast. So if you want to use the code Resonates25, you can get $25 off any session with me that is actual work. So a client session. The live classes, that code will also work for the live classes. Anything that is recorded or a gift certificate or anything like that, that code doesn't work there. So it has to be something live with me, but that code Resonates25 will give you all $25 off any one session with me.
Or live class.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Resonates 25. I love it.
25. And I'm excited for your new rebranding and your new podcast. I think it's fabulous. What resonates and everybody is different. So what works for me may not work for you. And that's the joy. Even people doing depossession work, we all do it slightly different. So you want to find the person that feels good to you. Sometimes these podcasts are like, yep, her, I want to go do it with her. And sometimes it's like, it's an interesting idea and I'm going to go find my person. And that's great.
I so agree, Gayle. And that's really what it's all about here with this new name, because we talk about lots of different things. And I'm sure for some people, certain topics are just going to fascinate them and they're going to be inspired and they're going to go want to study more. And that is so exciting because then their journey continues wherever it leads them and whoever, they find as a teacher or a mentor. And it's all about what resonates, I think, because that's like a calling. There's something special about that. So
The thing that lights
beautiful.
you up is a lot of people come to me and go, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. And the guides are like, don't pick your end point, pick the next thing. What's the thing that seems fun or interesting or that resonates that you can then go do? And I've studied with a lot of people over my lifetime, and I don't work to the line of anybody that I've studied because my guides take that information and incorporates with the rest of what I do in my past lives and my guides, and it comes out my way. And that's what I want for the people who study with me is to take the information and do it your way, make it your own. And the thing that lights you up will be different. I was sitting in a advanced depot class. It was a teacher's class, I think. And she says, yeah, let's talk about demons. And like most of the classes go like, demons. And I'm like, demons? Tell me about demons.
Yes. Tell me more.
And you'll be shocked at what pulls you in,
Yes. Yeah, and I love the fact that you talk about these things in such a grounded way. It's matter of fact. It's not all about fear and things like that. And I just think that helps so much. I mean, I just can't even say because it's all energy and it's nothing to be afraid of.
And it's logical. I know I have a logical professional background, but it's logical. The beings that are interacting with us, they have a reason to do so. And if we don't look at why people are doing things, and that's why I really love to get very deep into the binding. So it's like, why are they doing that? Are they doing it because they're an evil, dark thing? Most of the time, no. No, they're doing it because they have to, because of that binding. They're in the wrong place, eating the wrong food, which gives them the wrong density. They're sad, they're angry, they're frustrated. I'm sorry, but if I was the being that got pulled off one thing and put in the next for 2,000 years, I would be angry. So is that an angry being? Like they are angry, but are they at core an angry being? Probably not.
What a wonderful perspective that you bring. Thank you so much for being back,
Yeah,
Gayle.
thanks for having me.
Gosh, such a fantastic conversation.
Thank you,
So
thank you.
thanks again, and we'll be seeing you soon, I hope.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Keep trusting your truth, keep listening to your inner wisdom, and keep following what resonates. To sign up for the newsletter, leave a review, or connect, visit whatresonatspodcast.com. You'll also find everything linked in the show notes.